Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to a very special MCO edition of the pre-race show for the round 3 of the XOX Esports Challenge. With me today is Tengku Djan Ley, the Prince of Drift himself, has graced us in the studio. How are you doing over there with doing this PKP right now?
Good, thank you, Matthew.
Awesome.
Could be better.
Oh yeah, not gonna lie there. So I'm Matthew Palmer. We'll be heading out throughout this evening, and we're going to have a quick look back at some of the points and standings, and we'll be looking forward to what is going to be a very exciting race indeed. But for now, thanks for the likes from Jai Bluebird and Michael Hafiz, and a quick thanks to our sponsors XOX Mobile, One XOX, XOX eSIM, and Estremo Oil of Italy. And we have a very special announcement for all of you guys coming up very, very soon. So yes, we have a new media partner for the race itself. Gallery Creator is one of the biggest car culture channels here in Malaysia. They're looking at brand new builds, awesome content all around, some nice street cars, some nice pro level race cars as well. So do check them out in Facebook as well. We're glad to have worked with them in the past, and we'll hopefully be working with them into the future. So do stay tuned for that out there, Gallery Creator fans. You'll be able to join us on this wonderful e-racing adventure. So absolutely glad to have those guys on board. It's going to be fantastic stuff indeed. So you can see there a few of the comments already coming in. Support local. Okay. I'm sort of local, roughly. Tengku Djan's very local. And a lot of guys there. Jai Bluebird, hi Encik Bob, POT, Tengku Djan.
Really,
Yeah, and thanks to Shukran as well for the shares, and Tadakaja for the likes as well. Thanks for all of you guys who have come on board this evening. Now, we had a fantastic battle all round at round 2 there. Oran Park was a very, very difficult track to actually get right. Turn 2 proved to be the Achilles heel of many a driver throughout the course of the event. But in the end, in the amateur class, we finally did get a winner after quite a long protracted battle. We had a long yellow flag period at the start of the race there. We thought we got away with it turn 1, but didn't quite work out. But before we get going, we have giveaway prizes right now. The XOX Esports Challenge Round 3 Nürburgring Grand Prix. The giveaway prize this evening is a 1XOX prepaid pass, 5 gigs and 100 minutes with 28 months of validity. So that's over 2 years of validity. There's one SIM pack out there in the wild ready for you guys to snatch up. So do get ready, like and share on like the Gallery Creator Facebook page, Adrenaline Impact Facebook page, the 1XOX page, as well as XOX Mobile, and do stay tuned for the questions that are going to be coming up later on in the broadcast, because this is an absolutely wonderful prize coming up. And now, as we're heading into the standings fairly shortly, some fairly interesting battles going on up and down the field there. We have in AM a whole bunch, a really eclectic mix of drivers. We were quite surprised when we started out in sim racing. We thought it was just going to be the sim racing guys as well, but we have a drifter, a real life racer, a sim racer, and a guy who's completely new to all of this right there at the front of the field in AM. So that's quite a mix of drivers, isn't it?
Hi guys. Okay, sorry. I've got. I don't know why my camera is giving some issues, but I'm online, so we can start first while I try and sort this out.
No worries. So I was just saying that we have Afizul Jai, the drifter, as well as a sim racer, a guy new to any form of motorsport, sim or otherwise, as well as some real-life racers in the AM class. It's really very, very eclectic, and it doesn't seem to be any any factor in whether you're going to be successful or not. It's that close in AMS. What do you think about this? The whole range of drivers in one category, all with a chance of winning.
Well, I mean, it is M category, right? So, from my experience, what I realized is the person that can keep his car on the track will have a very good chance in the race. Especially turn 1. I think camera should be back on. Yeah.
There we go. We'll try and get Tengku Djan back as soon as possible. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah. Is it working now?
Yes, we can see you finally.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, more towards that point, we've had quite a lot of fairly big accidents during the AM races throughout the course of this season, and a lot of them at the first, or in the case of Oran Park, the second corner, of course, a very quick first turn into a hard braking zone there. So I guess it is true that in reality you can be as quick as you like, but you really have to keep the car on the road, don't you?
Yeah, and I find, especially with sim racing, you have to be a lot more patient with your driving, especially on lap 1. I mean, your tires are cold. You don't really realize that your tires are cold. I mean, you get the feel through the steering wheel, but I think it's not enough, and maybe you tend to take too much risk around the first 2 laps. And then if you make a small mistake and that's it, you throw the race away.
Absolutely. So it really is a case of just trying to get the car through the first few laps as well. We've seen so far this season and in previous seasons as well, very, very difficult to get the car around turn 1. And it's probably going to be just as interesting to see how the guys are going to end up with that first Mercedes-Benz arena section at Nürburgring. It's a downhill braking zone into a hairpin. It's going to be quite interesting there, isn't it?
Yeah, you can say that again. So you hit it downhill and you're more or less full throttle into turn 1. And it's a really tight hairpin, so you're trying to squeeze, I don't know, 20, 30 cars or maybe 4 or 5 cars abreast, trying to hit to turn 1. It's not going to be somebody has to give way, and if someone does not give way, then that's where accidents waiting to happen.
Yep. The only thing we could say is you can't win the race on the first lap. I know it's a cliche, but it is kind of true. So we're going to have a look at the point standing as they stand from the just after the round 2 at Oran Park here for the point standing. The point standings for the amateur class driver. Top 10 drivers on the screen right now. Afizul Jai is in first place, 43 points, plays Mohammad Zikri's 35 points. The championship is still on, but Afizul Jai definitely increasing his lead. Azrul Nazli, a very experienced sim racing driver there in third place, followed by Muhammad Kamal, Muhammad Ali, and Simon Sanchez with Lloyd Lachlan, 5th and 6th. 2 drivers with a lot of experience from overseas. Simon there living in Macau. Lloyd Lachlan, an expatriate from Australia, coming here to Malaysia. Surin Selvaraju is in 7th place from Singapore, along with Malvindajit, Muhammad Noor, and Muhammad Sharil Nora Fudin in 10th place. So a real mix of characters there, and an absolutely fantastic bit of racing that everyone has gone through there. Android King Hyperbulls is the leader in the team standings, with Just Keep Racing in 2nd place and Toda Asia in 3rd. Hyperbulls Bushwhacker in 4th, Stream.my in 5th, HMSRT in 6th place. Interesting to see there with 1XOX TKKR Racing Team. Kamal Ali is the sole points winner there, but we have included a little points there to see where Bobby Farid, wildcard entry for this season, would have brought the team up to. So very interesting stuff. They would have been 4th in the standings, so a very, very good result there from 1XOX TKKR Racing Team as well. And it's nice to see that the veterans in the MSR camp, the over 40s club, doing very well for themselves, pushing their way up through the field. So really nice to see a real eclectic mix as well in the teams standing there. So there's quite a few real life teams, and teams like Toda and URT, who are obviously a team that's full of real life racing drivers, including yourself at one point, if memory serves me right, in the Kias.
Yes. I enjoyed the whole season actually in the Kias. There was,
Yeah.
I almost got myself into season 3, but the first I would have to miss the first 2 races, so that's why I didn't commit to myself. But hopefully I can get into round 3 under wildcard. I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, we have machinations going on behind the scenes to make sure we get everyone's favorite wildcard entrant to get back in. I've already had messages, private messages going on as soon as they read the result, read the regulations, and so there's wildcard entries. Is it just the 2? No, we might be able to drag a few more in there. So thanks, Jan, for getting us in. We will hopefully get you in for round 3 or round 4. Depends on how things play out. But do stay tuned to that. We might also be able to bring a few other drivers in as well. Very exciting stuff indeed. So there, as you can see, Tengku Djan, yeah, Prince of Drift wildcard. Oh yeah, this is going to be fun. So yeah, just having a quick look at the chat there. Thanks to Sharil Nurifuddin and Faisal Alang for the likes. They're 2 real-life drivers who have done quite well for themselves through the sim racing world there. Now, I've really always wanted to ask someone who's done quite a lot of GT racing, especially, and with the breadth of experience that you had, how hard was it when you first picked up sim racing to get in? Because it took you a while.
Well, okay. To get up to 80% is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that final 15-20% where it's tough. For me, I find that all the information comes just visually and through the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I'm used to, it's actually not enough information.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to, especially through the visual. So whatever I see, I've got to try and relate that into my past experience, and then put it into a steering input or a braking or a throttle input. It's not easy. So that last 15%, I guess, is just putting in the hours and understanding the whole dynamics better to improve your driving. So I'm at fault. I have not put enough hours, but honestly, it's a lot of hours to put in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you can say that again. I'm always constantly running out of hours in the day to try and get myself up to speed, and I'm pretty sure most of the sim racers out there probably have the same issue as well. But yeah, it's been quite interesting, and through the MCO period as well, we've seen a lot of the drivers who've been racing in the real world turn to sim racing, whether it be for practice or just for a little bit of friendly competition. Have you seen any? Do you see any usefulness for the sim as a training tool?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, the tracks that's available, that's one. So, with real racing, your time is very limited. That's because everything comes at a cost. So, the more you practice, the higher the cost. So with sim racing, that helps cut down the hours in real life. So it allows you to understand the basic dynamics of the car, get to know the track better before you actually go out. So yes, it's a great tool, and I actually use it in both drifting as well as racing to understand the circuit, basically the circuit layout, have a rough feel before you actually go out, instead of just going out blind and fresh,
So do you see, I mean, we often talk about sim racing as being very one-sided, just circuit racing, but we've also seen successful things in rallying as well as a few other sports as well. I've even seen the guys in Thailand do an AC drag racing event, which was quite interesting to watch.
Oh, wow.
So do you think that things like drifting have a future in sim?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the drifting in Assetto Corsa is very very real. So I mean, as a drifter, I jumped onto the sim, and within a good hour and a half, I'm able to actually drift it because the dynamics is very similar to a real car. The only difference is, understanding how much throttle to put in and how long to stay on the throttle, because you're not getting that feel through your butt anymore. All that is through visual. So there's some fine tuning which you need to make, or differences in driving, but overall it's still very very similar. So the how to say, the step between sim racing or sim drifting or whatever it is and real life is actually much much closer than it was maybe 5 years, 10 years ago.
Yeah. So do you see it taking that sort of being an alternative to something like karting when it comes to starting out? We've have quite a few youngsters go through our ranks, guys like Iman Danish, who's only 14, doing quite well for themselves in real racing. Do you see someone like Iman Danish going through sim racing and being able to translate that into perhaps the ability to drive on track?
Yes, but I think where the difference is, it's the focus on your physical side. So you don't get the G forces, you don't get all that the feel and the energy that's needed to actually drive. Because you're more or less seated in one position in sim racing, right? But if you work yourself physically and have that strength to bring it forward, I think anyone and everyone can actually make the shift from sim racing to real racing for sure.
So yeah, it's absolutely interesting to see, because obviously with the rising costs of any form of motorsports nowadays, that it's nice to know that there's still a chance for some of you guys who are a little bit strapped for cash to at least experience a part of the competition and everything else. So for those of you guys down in chat, that is in fact live, don't worry. I'm going to say something that's probably a little bit dangerous. Do you guys in chat have any questions for Tengku Djan Ley? I'll try and pick out the ones that are not too rude. and I'll ask you if and I'll be able to ask Tengku Djan and see if he has any tips, tricks, or any answers to those questions. So do leave a comment down below with a question, and I'll be able to ask the Prince of Drift himself. Yes. Yeah. So just as a side note there, for the comments to pop out here, just as a quick reminder, the comments that we'll be reading are from the AI Facebook page. So do scoot along over to the Adrenaline Impact Facebook page to ask those questions. There is one down there. Panda Gaming asks, "Kenapa tak join this season?"
Yeah, that's why I just mentioned earlier. I mean, towards the end of last year, I was a bit busy, so I didn't have much time to get onto the sim. And then we actually had a family holiday planned out for the first 2 weeks of January. So it just didn't work out. But I'm happy that you all have a wild card, so I'm looking forward to joining round 3.
Oh yeah, any reason to get some of the usual suspects from Sepang into the sim. I'll try and work on a better tagline for that. Kamal Ali asks, "What is your setup in sim?"
Oh, okay. So my rig is actually built by Tedco Racing. So Ruben actually put it all together. It has a SimMagic M10. It has load cell pedals.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know the specification of the PC and stuff, but yeah, the only thing which I brought along was my own seat and my own steering wheel. So the setup's really good. We even have a dead pedal on the rig, so that's what I like about Tedco, because they come from the real world racing, so there's a lot of small details which they look into that I like as a driver, versus a lot of other rigs out there which is a rig just because it's a rig, so it's more similar. It feels a lot more at home, like when I'm driving my actual car.
Yeah, so it is something that you can take as much variability out of the equation, and you're running the same wheel, the same seat. You get as
Correct.
close to the same feeling as you can get.
We even focused a lot on the tilt of the steering wheel as well, you know. So not having something that's fully flush, for example, but trying to emulate as close as possible to our actual race cars. So there's a bit of angle to it, and then I played around with the pedals. So I've offsetted the pedals as well. So the brake pedals are actually closer to me, while the throttle and the clutch is slightly further, and all that angle very similar to a rail car.
Yeah. And I guess it helps having someone like Ruben Wong, who's been engineering actual real life race cars for a very long time.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the boys are doing a great job. You know, they actually buy all sorts of sim equipment, and then they test it out first before they start offering it to their customers. So I find that really good. So you know, they have a test rig at their place itself, where they basically have everything mounted up, and then they test it, and we decide if we want it or not.
Yeah. And of course, there is 2 more questions there. First of all, of course, the rally driver is going to ask this. Faisal Alang asks, Yaris GR Besta?
Oh, the Yaris GR. I mean, it's a homologation special to begin with. And I was actually very amazed with the way it drove. It's very nimble like the 86, so it doesn't feel like normally a 4-wheel drive is basically a front-wheel drive car with loads of traction. But with the GR Yaris, it's slightly different. So it's very nimble. It yaws easily. So it allows you to change the direction of the car very quick. And well, I have to say the 3-cylinder 1.6 actually packs a good punch. So it's a very nice package. If you all have the opportunity to drive it, you should. It is an amazing car.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to see which dealership has one so I can go and do a test drive, because that sounds amazing. And of course, the final question before we go to a break. Encik Bob asks, Tengku Djan Ley versus Tengku Djan Ley, mana lagi laju?
Kena tengok kat mana lah, atas track ke atas sim. Kalau atas sim, kita bagi kat Izan lah.
Oh, yes, we do have one final question from the TKKR racing team. That would be Bobby Farid, the man who has brought that team all the way to Moto 2. How have our motorsport scene grown over the years?
Well, unfortunately, the growth has been really slow. I put it down to having the right facility or the lack of facilities. So we don't have enough tracks to go around, that's for sure. You know, we race year in year out on the same circuit, which is Sepang circuit. We hardly even use the 3 different layouts which we have, which is the full circuit, north and south. I mean, that shows you the type of racing which we have in our country. So every time we have this discussion, whether it's KBS or whether it's like, for example, on this forum here, to me is having the facility. Basically, we need more facilities. We need more tracks that gives everyone the opportunity to drive more. So yeah, growth has been slow, and it will still remain slow as long as we do not have the facilities.
Yep, so any of you guys out there who have a piece of land, I do actually know how to drive a steamroller, so just saying. if anybody's out there, I wouldn't mind chipping in, actually. So, all right, we're going to go away for a 5-minute break, but do stay tuned, because when we get back, we'll have those 2 questions for you. So do stick around, like those pages, Gallery Creator, XOX Mobile, 1XOX, and Adrenaline Impact, and share this stream to your friends, and wait for those 2 questions, because when we come back, we'll give you those 2 questions and give you a chance to win that sim package. We'll have more with Tengku Djan Ley right after this, but for now, we'll be off to the sponsors. And we are back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to the pre-race show for round 3 of the XOX Esports Challenge. My name is Matthew Palmer, and with me in the studio, the Prince of Drifts himself, Tengku Djan Ley, is with us. So, how is lockdown been treating?
Well, it is the second lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a bit frustrating, especially when things have been starting to pick up again.
Yeah.
And then now we're more or less back to square one again. But again, I think it's important that we keep COVID under control. So, I mean, this is probably the only way to do it right now without a vaccine. So I guess it is what it is.
Yep. Just remember to stay home as much as possible, keep your hands clean, and make sure to cover your face with the appropriate face coverings. And keep yourselves safe out there, guys. But for now, we're going to have a quick look at the questions as have been passed on to me by secret ballot envelope. These questions are very difficult indeed. So as you know, you like and share. After this. Right. Someone's given me someone's given me the envelope and taken it back. We'll have a quick look at the pro drivers and teams in the meantime. Miko Nasi is in first place there with 40 points, having a nice, comfortable lead there from Dominic Ang, but anything can change. We're before round 3, we're before the midpoint of the race. Definitely the top 3, top 4 have a half decent chance in catching Miko Nasi. But what a brilliant run that man has up at the top of the leaderboard. Mohammed Ibrahim is in third place for Full Focus Racing as well. Dominic Ang there from URT Red in second. Ilham Halabi is the first Todak car home in fourth, with Iman Danish fifth, Shameh Aizan in sixth, Saiful Arifin down in seventh after a very rough couple of races there for him. Taki is in eighth with Tengku Djan Ley in ninth and Jazrin Jali in 10th. Any advice for your brother there?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty tough, right? Up there in the pro category. I mean, to be in top 10 is already an achievement.
Yeah.
But then again, for sure, if he finishes top 10, we're gonna give him a lot of a lot of pressure. So I think he has it in him to be top 5. But we'll have wait and see, because again, like I said, sometimes we take unnecessary risks at the start of the race, and that just throws away the whole race.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Tengku Djan Ley, your brother is watching you. That sounds ominous, doesn't it? So we're going to have a quick look at the Pro Class team standings. Full Focus Racing, that's the pairing of Mohammed Ibrahim and Miko Nasi up there in first place, really trying to stretch their advantage away from Todak Racing. But URT Red and Todak Racing, they're in a very close battle for second. 1 point separates them, 36 plays, 35 there for second and third place, with Todak Motorsports in fourth position with 21 points. Hyperbulls, Taurus, URT Pink and Todak Revolution sort of tie up the top 10 there with Autohogs, FCR Performance, Padawan, SRCA. We have 2 1xx TKKR e-racing teams in there, right there with 4 points and 2 points. They're definitely getting into their stride. However, a couple of bad luck moments there for a couple of the drivers, getting taken out in a few accidents at the starts of the races and things like that. So hopefully we'll see those 1XOX boys climb their way back up through the field. So yeah, having a look at the spread of URT drivers, URT teams through the standings there, it's quite interesting to see that actually most of the URT teams have managed to get themselves into pro for this time round. It's definitely a team of real racing drivers adapting quite well to the sim.
Oh man, I mean, if you know how many hours the guys put in, you'll be amazed. They should be there,
Yeah.
We started URT during the first MCO, and basically it's just a bunch of friends, finding something to do, and everyone got into sim racing, and here they are today. Very competitive.
Yeah.
The chats just goes off every day, with new ideas, new lap times, new events, new races. Wow, even I find it difficult to keep up.
Oh yeah, that is one of the key. It's almost the classic Malaysian sim racing thing of having the group chat explode quietly in the corner. Quite often I come back and 3 or 4 group chats and there are hundreds of messages in, and I can barely keep up with these guys. But it's wonderful because there's a lot of discussion and a lot of concepts being thrown around.
Yes.
It's absolutely been wonderful, and it's been great to actually get the community together and give us direct feedback in a way that I don't think we've ever had before. I mean, speaking of myself and speaking on behalf of some of the guys in Adrenaline Impact, it's been brilliant to have this very close connection between organizers, drivers, and actually trying to get everyone talking to each other. The communication's been brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, right? Communication is very important.
Yeah.
And of course having the respect for each other. I mean, it's very easy to take big risks in sim racing, but having the respect for your other competitors is equally as important. And I think everyone is growing up, and that respect is definitely there.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff indeed. Just that maturity that's beginning to build up in sim racing is really impressive. So now they finally let me keep the black envelope for the two very difficult questions. So remember, you guys that have liked the XOX Mobile, one XOX Gallery Creator, and Adrenaline Impact pages and shared stream, you have now two questions to spam that chat with. And just to make it extra difficult, we're going to do this in Malay. Siapakah guest pre-ratio round ketiga dan berapa kali guest pre-ratio memenangi Toyota GR Vios Challenge? Very difficult questions, eh? So who is our guest for the pre-ratio in round 3? I wonder who that could be. And how many times has our guest won the Toyota GR Vios Challenge? Very, very interesting stuff. So do answer those questions down there, and we will pick a winner randomly in the comment section down below for that wonderful prize of a free SIM card with 28 months of validity. That's quite nice. That's one bill that you don't have to worry about. So there you go. 1XOX prepaid, 5 gigs of data and 100 minutes of free talk time on us at XOX Mobile with the whole season pass and all the rest of that good stuff. 28 months of validity and absolute burn-proof coverage. So if you can't quite finish that 5 gigs in a month, you can carry that on to the next month and so on and so forth. Very, very nice stuff indeed. So there we have it. We also do have the questions down there in the comment section down below. And do get your questions in. We will be picking the questions by random choice. So that is going to be a very interesting giveaway. We have all these giveaways that 1XOX guys have coming in. Absolutely fantastic sponsors. They came in with the 25,000 ringgit prize pool, which I think is a lot more than some of the actual real life racing we've had. It's pretty generous, isn't it? As well as, of course, the giveaways that they've been giving out. And actually, I believe, although I'm not too sure, there's also going to be some sim racing equipment to be given out in the final round. So do stay tuned for that. Some very exciting stuff coming here. So, we're going to have a quick look there. That is Rashid Ramlan. People normally underestimating sim as purely games instead of looking at it as one of driving tools. Your comment, Tengku Djan.
Yeah, I think we covered that earlier, right? I think yes, it's an important tool. Even I see it as a very important tool.
Yeah.
It cuts down that learning curve or the learning time that's needed, especially when you're going to a new track or driving a new car. So yes, that means I think that to translate sim racing 100% into real life is still not there, but at least it brings you closer or cuts down all that time wasted, because time for real racing costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So at least you get up to maybe 60-65%, and then you only have about 30-35% to clean up once you actually get to the actual circuit and drive the real car. So yes, it's definitely a great tool, and even I use it to a certain extent to understand new tracks and new cars.
Absolutely. And speaking from Rashid Ramlan's perspective, I believe he also runs the SSAD driving school, and I've heard that they've used sims quite extensively when it comes to defensive driving, as well as trying to learn the basics of circuit driving before going out and doing practical stuff. Do you see the drivers that are learning and trying to go from transitioning from karts to cars? Do you see the sim becoming a bigger part of that education of racing drivers?
Yeah, of course. Because if you're moving from kart to a real car, then first of all, it's like the amount of steering, the overall steering turn which you have on a real car, which is 2.5 times versus I don't know what's on the go-kart, 180 degrees, maybe a bit more. Then you're moving from 2 pedals to 3 pedals, so you got a gear shift, you got a clutch pedal also to manage. So this gives you that time to actually build that muscle memory on the sim before you actually go on a real car.
Absolutely. So now we have a couple of comments there. An interesting comment there from Michael Hafiz. I improved my personal best time on the real track after using the simulator during the first MCO period. So there's definitely quite a few drivers out there. And Michael Hafiz is not a slow driver in his class himself. Definitely finding the experience helping him out. Of course, we already have. I was just going to have to double check there. That's Freddie Young. My idol, Tengku Djan handsome man. Does he owe you money or something? I'm not sure. Thanks to WZ Yusuf for the share and Panda Gaming for the like as well. So now I guess we're going to move on to the next round of the championship, the Nürburgring Grand Prix course at the bottom of the Eiffel Mountains under Castle Nürburg is going to be our next round of the series. Round 3 will be on from the 17th of January 2021 at 8 o'clock. So do stay tuned for that. It's going to be an absolutely spectacular race. 2 races, of course, with 30 drivers each. 1 race in AM and 1 race in Pro. It's going to be short, sharp, very, very good sprint races and very exciting stuff indeed. And now we introduce you to The Sting, our mystery race driver, sim racing driver, takes us out for a lap of the track. Now coming down this straight here, you're going to see what must be one of the biggest flashpoints of the track there. Going over this blind crest, coming into the braking zone here, you've got to be on the left-hand side, really line up that braking point. You're turning slightly as you're braking before you commit to turn 1. You've got to really graze that curb and get the car turned around and pointed going up through the Mercedes-Benz arena. Very difficult. Couple of left-handers here up ahead. The road sort of falls away from you, so the car wants to oversteer quite a bit going through here, and you really will find that a lot of drivers will start understeering, especially on cold tyres, coming out of this section as well. Now going out onto where the old track used to be, and now this is the Vidal S coming up. Very, very tricky indeed. In fact, there's several racing lines that could possibly work driving through here, so it could lead to some interesting overtaking maneuvers through here. So as you can see, the Sting decides to keep the car to the right to try and hug that apex and get a good exit going down to the Dunlop curve. The hairpin, the famous part of the track, roughly where the old the old hairpin used to be. That was the first corner of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit of old. Now coming out of the corner here again, it's all about traction as you go through towards the Schumacher S, a very, very high speed left-right S corner there. You've got to use all the curb on the entry to try and get yourself the best possible line, the path of least resistance going through there before you're coming up to this braking zone here. Very, very tricky stuff here under brakes. Very hard to spot your braking distance markers there before you turn into that left-hander, and then now diving down into the right-hander here. It's absolutely critical to get a good exit coming out of here before you go through the gears, through 3rd, 4th, 5th, right up through the revs. It's going to be absolutely flat out through this right-hand kink, just trying to keep the car going as fast as possible as they go through the corner there before the final braking point of the lap. Very, very difficult braking point here. You're going to see perhaps quite a few thrills and spills through this left-right chicane before coming out for the final corner of the lap. Again, another critical one. Going to keep the car tight towards the apex and really hug that apex for quite a surprising amount of time before coming back out onto the start-finish straight, completing a lap of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. So absolutely interesting track there. I can already see a couple of interesting points of contention on the track there, as we discussed off camera earlier. So what do you think is going to be the real sticking point for the drivers coming into this race?
Oh my god, qualifying well, so don't be mid-pack, because I think heading to lap 1, turn 1, it's going to be chaos for mid-pack. So the further up you are, the better off you are, but then again, you still got to be patient. Well, I guess it's not the race is not one lap, but again, that first lap or first 2 laps I think will be critical to determine your finishing position by the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to get yourself as far up the field early on could be key to getting yourself into a nice groove and getting into your race pace as well. There's also a few other points of the track that really do confuse me sometimes as someone who's not that quick around Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, especially that first chicane or that first S bend, just keeping all the way to the right there. I'm sure there's quite a few drivers who are going to have different takes, different racing lines through some of these corners there. It seems to be a hallmark of Nürburgring.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in the MX-5 as well. So it is relatively underpowered, so that allows you to have maybe a slight variation in actual racing lines between the competitors. So again, it's depending where you line up and where you position yourself to attack for the next corner. It gives you a bit of room to play around and position yourself to make that attack. Because I don't think you can do it on the straights. The cars are very similar in terms of power. So it's about being at the right place at the right time and maximizing your braking as well as acceleration out of the turn.
Yeah, that brings a good point because the previous 2 rounds at Watkins Glen and Oran Park has that long front straight. Even though it's a small club circuit, you can actually get some level of slipstreaming done. And of course, at Watkins Glen, it's virtually all slipstream battles. But this is definitely going to be one for the outbraking maneuvers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's going to be a very, very interesting set of circumstances to head into. Very tricky stuff as well. Freddie Youngs asks yet another question. Is Tengku Djan racing this weekend? We might see him racing this weekend. If not, the next we will try our best to fit you in there. We'll paint the extra grid mark for him for sure. And Paduka Shoaib there saying, Tengku Djan, cuba share teknik tutup side mirror guna wall di tengah Gazoo racing. That's a clock in the course there, guys.
It's not a technique. So I mean, as you know, we have to maximize the width of the track, right? So with the Gazoo events, it's a street course, so you don't have much room. So sorry, the width of the track is actually where the walls are. So the closer to the walls you are, which means you are maximizing the width of the track. And that allows you to actually go faster because it enables you to keep the steering wheel straight for a longer period of time. That allows you to accelerate forward instead of scrubbing on speed with steering wheel angle. So that's the main difference. So it looks more dramatic. That's because you have the walls. But around Sepang as well, we're like inches away or millimeters away from the maximum track width. So you've just got to maximize the track to be able to get a fast lap time.
And that's the other thing with the VIOS Championship. I think it's been a very long time since we've had street courses or street circuits in Malaysia. I think probably the last time would have been back in the early 80s with the Penang Grand Prix.
Correct.
And of course, they have the Cub racing as well. But I think this is the first time we've had a series really take the street circuits quite seriously. It's been real nice watching the races go on. There's been obviously quite a different technique to all that. As you can see, Freddie Young's given us a star.
Wow. Thank you, Freddie.
99 stars. Sorry, 49 stars. So thank you very much, Freddie Young. We hope to see you out there very, very shortly. Freddie Young is also one of the competitors that used to race in the old AIMC season. We have quite a few more of these seasons coming up, so who knows, maybe a few more URT entries to be signed up fairly soon. So Freddie Young has a comment to that. I see Jan, I give star.
I like in pro class, right?
Yeah.
Freddie's in pro class.
Oh yeah. So yeah, so just going on with that, of course, you started this whole partnership between yourself and Gazoo Racing. So that must be quite exciting for you, being an ambassador for what must be one of the most exciting brands out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have to thank Toyota for giving me the opportunity, and I've invested in the Gazoo Racing Festival since season 1. So I've actually driven in 2 seasons and team managed 1 season. That was season 2. So in the 2 seasons which I drove, I managed to win the championship as well. So street racing is not easy. What I find is you really have to get into a rhythm, into a groove, to be able to be consistent and quick around the street course. So that was what I was looking for every time I went to a new circuit. It's basically just get into a rhythm, and have that flow going. I personally like it. I think maybe it's because I've had a lot more how do you say, experience with walls. So in drifting,
Yeah.
we actually drift against
Yeah.
walls. So the closest you are, the bigger the impact, blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think that's translated into my Gazoo racing, you know, feel around the track as well. So yes, the wall is scary. Yes, I've hit the walls a couple of times as well in practice and in qualifying and stuff like that. But it's a risk. It's a calculated risk which we have to take if you want to go fast. And I mean, if you can keep off it, then great. But
Yeah.
there's always instances where it's just a split of a second. You make one small mistake and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, that's the other thing. It must be. It's just a totally different visual, sort of a totally different visual technique as well. Because obviously at Sepang you probably could see your way through the next apex and to the next apex as well. But looking at that video from I believe last season or season 4 at MIPS in Serdang, it can be quite difficult to actually spot your way through there. You got to be quite react quite quickly to what's happening out there, haven't you?
Yeah, correct. And honestly, between practice and qualifying versus the races is completely different. So in practice and qualifying, you're basically racing against yourself. So you don't see the next corner, but you still have a clear road ahead of you. When you start the races, and then in our race 2 is basically a reverse grid. So there's always an opportunity of you starting in the mid pack of the grid, and you got 4 or 5 cars in front of you. You got walls left and right. You can't see forward. Everything is like you're just guessing in a way. You either follow the flow or you guess your way around and try and make a move at the next turn to make the overtaking stick. It's not easy at all, honestly. It caught me out the last race of season 3 in Penang. It really caught me out. So we carry additional ballast, winning ballast, and I was up to maximum ballast, if I'm not mistaken, 60 kilos or 55 or 60 kilos. And that final additional weight that was put in really threw me off. We started the race. By the third corner, I already hit the wall. That's because the braking, the braking change, the reaction of the car changed, and when I turned in, I knew. I was like, oh my god, I turned in, I carried a bit too much speed, and I turned in a bit too late, and that was it. That cost me the race.
So with all of that in mind, with the whole the way the races are set up, and it's obviously not the easiest thing in the world to do in these Viosas, which are, I mean, needless to say, they're not slow. Actually, seeing some of those videos there, you definitely get the cars up to fairly decent speed out there. But despite all of that, there are a couple of guys who've actually taken the jump from sim racing and gone into the rookie program that Gazoo Racing had done. So how are those guys getting on so far?
So the rookie program is going on really fine. It's managed by Alex as well, Alex Young. And so basically we have 2 pure sim drivers in the whole program. The others are karters, and the sim drivers are quick. So they've managed to pick up driving pace really quick. I don't know what it is, but I guess it's the understanding of lines that has given them some form of advantage. Everyone's more or less leveling out now. So the go-kart guys are trying to adapt to 3 pedals and the gear shift and all that. And of course, in a real car, the the information is not as great as it was from a go-kart, because the go-kart is very direct.
Yeah.
And the sim guys, I guess they have more experience with 3 pedals and a shifter and all that, because we have all sorts of different driving simulators out there. But the great thing is they've managed to put it all together and make it work on track in a real car. So yeah, then again, so the sim guys are doing really well.
So that's wonderful to hear. It does give all of us bedroom warriors a little bit of hope.
Opportunity. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's always an opportunity.
Absolutely. And so now we have all of those guys who have answered the question down there in chat in the 4 separate fields, 4 separate Facebook pages out there. And apparently we do, in fact, have a winner. Yet another black envelope has been sent to me on my phone. We are socially distant right now, so I'm coming at you from my home, whereas the studio is being run remotely as well. But the giveaway winner, drum roll please, we've got pandagaming.tv has won our SIM card for this evening. So congratulations to Panda Gaming there. Hopefully you guys enjoy that prize. It's going to be absolutely fantastic stuff there. The 1 XOX prepaid card, there 5 gigs and 100 minutes with the season pass and 28 months of validity. So do enjoy that, guys, and do get in contact with us as soon as you can. So do stay tuned, as they say in the old days of TV and radio. You just have to hang on to the phone while you give your answers. Just let us know, DM us. We'll try and get in contact and give you that prize. But that's been absolutely fantastic. Definitely interesting having a chat with you. Is there anything else you want to sort of promote or let us know about your racing for 2021?
I'm going to focus more locally for 2021. I don't see COVID going away anytime soon. So I'm putting a lot of focus into our local programs for 2021. International will be a bonus, I guess, for 2021. I guess a lot more sim racing. I hope to get onto more of AIMC events. I do enjoy it a lot. And to everyone else that's racing this weekend, good luck. Keep it clean and finish the race. That will give you opportunity to win. If you don't finish, you can't even win.
Yep, that's true.
Hopefully see you in the next race.
Hopefully. And one more question for me personally. Do you think we could see drifting make an appearance on this channel in Sim?
Please make it happen. Please make it happen.
We'll see what we can do there. So that has been the Prince of Drift himself, Tengku Djan Ley. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. And hopefully good luck to all of your future endeavors, and hopefully we'll see more of you very, very soon.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You're most welcome. Thanks as well to XOX Mobile, 1XOX, XOX eSIM, and Streamer Oil of Italy, our sponsors, as well as our media partner, Gallery Creator. Do check out their stuff on Facebook and on YouTube. Some very, very cool cars on display there. But that's it. That's going to be it from us now. I've been Matthew Palmer, and we'll see you all in the next broadcast. Do stay tuned for the race, and do stay safe out there. Ta-ra.